Hello and welcome to the Call for Help show. I'm your host, attorney Paul Rebein. With me in the studio today are my co-hosts Robin Lockett and Brenda Fruster. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
We also have very special guests with us today, William Kilgore from the St. Petersburg Tenants Union. William, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Paul and
Thank
Robin and
you.
Brenda.
Welcome to the Call for Help show. We are broadcasting live on Facebook. We encourage all of our viewers and listeners on Facebook to join us and add your comments. We also replay the show each week on WTMP. So we've got some topics to cover today. Um, William, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the St. Petersburg Tenants Union. I didn't know that such an organization existed until about a week ago when I was reading a story in the newspaper. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, great. Well, thanks, Paul. Yeah, the St. Petersburg Tenants Union. It's a group I started last summer. I'm born and raised here in Pinellas County. I've worked in the service industry most of my adult life. Of course, when COVID hit, I lost my job. I was bussing tables in downtown St. Pete. And rents and issues with landlords, slumlords, things like that. That was always an issue in St. Pete and something I had seen and dealt with personally and known a lot of people who dealt with personally. And I think after, once COVID hit and it was, kind of like, wow, I mean, the rents have been going up. There's no indication they're going to go down. And now, there's all these folks who are unemployed, including myself. It's like, it's time to take action and it's time to, make a group that, is actually standing up for renters, low income renters, even homeless people, who don't have a place to live, who've been forced out of their homes. So that's kind of why we started it. We take kind of a two-pronged approach, to advocacy. We of course, go to city council, things like that, try and advocate for tenant protections on the city, state level. And we also take direct action as well. We go try and seek out low rent apartments, things like that, and organize the tenants to take direct action. Hey, there's more of us than the landlord, and we need democracy, and we need to take back control of our living spaces. So.
Well, that's interesting. Do you know anything about the history of tenant unions and in the United States?
Yeah, well, I know it was a big thing back during the Depression. That was when you saw a lot of those pop up, alongside a lot of the labor organizing. Because there was a serious need for it, obviously. And I think we're seeing similar conditions today. And I think you've seen there's been some tenants unions who've been established for a while. I know they have one out in LA that's been there for a while. But really there were a lot that started kind of popping up around the time of the pandemic, maybe just a little bit before. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting idea that a tenant might feel powerless on their own. But if they join together with other people in the same building or in the same community or whatever, they could there would be power in numbers. And actually, maybe do people donate and do you provide legal resources sometimes for people to fight evictions?
Well, unfortunately, yeah, we are not a nonprofit or an LLC or anything. We don't really have any fundraising mechanism at the moment. We are going to start setting up and collecting dues and things like that. We really need to get that. Actually, I need to get that done soon because, yeah, we have a lot of people asking. But what we do, sometimes we do fundraise for tenants. We'll put up sometimes our Venmo or usually we ideally put up the tenant's Venmo or Cash App if they're being, evicted or they need a place to stay or something like that. So folks can donate to them directly.
The reason I came across your name was about a story about an apartment building in St. Petersburg that had been sold, and what happened to those tenants. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure thing. So I think you're referencing the Stanton Apartments in Stanton Hotel. which are in downtown St. Pete on the corner of 2nd Avenue North and 3rd Street. And so those are right next to the Cordova Inn. And so the owners of the Cordova are trying to buy the Stanton Apartments and Hotel so that they can tear them down and then expand the Cordova Inn. That would be taking 49 units of actual affordable housing, affordable for low-income people out of the downtown area. It's some of the last truly affordable housing, but it's kind of an exploitative setup. The Stanton Hotel, they do have week-by-week rents. The apartments, everybody just about was on a month-to-month lease, so they were able at the end of September to give them either between 15 days or 30 days notice. If you're on week to week, it's a 14-day notice. Month to month, they only need to give you 15 days, but they gave them 30 days. So we got word of it and went down there and started trying to organize the tenants and say, hey, they need to be giving you more time, more money. There was a St. Pete Times article came out, and then we organized a demonstration. There was some more media coverage, and so then the landlord said, "Okay, we'll give you $500 after you move," and this whole thing. So it's been this whole back and forth, but pretty much the landlord management has been coercing people to leave. By the end of the month, we got a call from some of the folks at the hotel facility, and they were the management was telling them they were going to cut off the electric, the water, and change the locks come this Monday. So of course we alerted the city, we alerted some of our media contacts, and then they backed off those threats. Obviously that's illegal. It's a self-help eviction. They can't do that, without filing an eviction and getting a court order. So really, really bad, unscrupulous behavior by this landlord. It's really, really sad to see. So
Yeah, didn't one person pass away who was forced to move and had nowhere to go?
yeah, that was Kelvin Washington, and yeah, he had he had a number of health problems. He was an older gentleman, about 65 years old. But he was literally in the process of moving his stuff, and took up and died. And it was horrible. I mean, he had lived there for a long time, a number of years. His neighbors he was beloved by his neighbors, and they were all there and witnessed it. It was truly, truly tragic. But that's what we say when we say, evictions are horrible for the health of the community, and they kill people. And that's not just a hyperbole. I mean, they literally, contribute to so much stress and strain on individuals and families, and it's horrible.
That is. But what's the solution? Obviously, real estate in downtown St. Pete is more valuable than it has ever been. And I don't know, can you blame somebody that owns a property that maybe they want to sell it? It's their right to do so. So what's the solution here?
Well, we need a lot of public investment. We need investment, in affordable housing, new public housing, which we can still build up to 500 units here in St. Pete and be within the Faircloth limit. But the biggest thing really is we need to start reining in greed and profiteers and property rights. And I know, in America, property owners have more rights than individuals. But we've got to figure out ways around that. Right now, we are actually pushing for an emergency declaration from the city of St. Petersburg in order to enact rent control. So if the mayor or city council can declare a state of emergency, they can hold a referendum, enact rent control for 1 year at a time. So we need drastic measures to keep people housed, to rein in these rents and rein in the greed of developers and landlords, and start requiring that they do more to at least get folks, like in this case, rehouse them. There should be requirements that they are paid to rehouse them instead of relying on our strained social services and public services. So
I think a property owner has every right to do whatever he wants with his or her property. That's a given. But I think that if they're receiving any types of subsidies from the local government or the federal government, then that makes it a different playing field. I think that when these electives, if they're approving if they have to approve and they're providing subsidies to these 300 units that's being built, or 500 units that's being built, and they're being built as tall as skyscrapers these days, that more than 10% of those units are not given to affordable housing. And we have to clarify what that word means. Affordable versus low income, and I can't think of the other word that they use, but that those properties are afforded to, those individuals that are low income. So I think that what St. Peter's doing is great, right? Hopefully Tampa can mimic it, be brave enough to step forward and do something about it. Are the new units that I think they're building like 500 units over in St. Pete? Are those low income units? Because they said they're affordable housing. So is it for low income housing, or is it just nice apartments that so-called middle class can rent?
Well, right. Unfortunately, some of the stuff, what they call workforce housing, which is between 80% and 120% AMI. So 80% AMI here in St. Pete is around $41,000 a year, somebody making $41,000 annually. Yeah. And so, it kind of makes you wonder, I don't make that much. I make under 41,000. Am I the lesser workforce? It's very screwy. And like you said, Robin, it's right. What is affordable? It's relative affordability. The thing is, though, we need housing right now. The people who are on the lowest end, the low income workers, seniors on fixed income, that's right, folks who are currently homeless, we need to be prioritizing them first and foremost, because they're the ones who have the most at stake and the most to lose. So,
no, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely right.
I know y'all got a new mayor in St. Pete.
Yeah,
that was groundbreaking. What do you think? He's going to be able to do anything to help the situation?
I sure hope so. I mean, I think he's going to do a little bit more, at least than our current mayor. But he's had some success at the county level. With the affordable trust fund on the county level. But we've got to really, crack down on the greed and the profiteers. That's the biggest thing. The landlords have too much power. And there's certain things, a lot of things are preempted under state law, but there's a lot of things we can get creative and ways we can kind of approach them. Utilize code enforcement. Unfortunately, code enforcement's too busy, finding people and threatening to put liens on properties when their grass is too long. But they're not going after these slumlords. And in the case of the Stanton, it's actually really interesting because both the owners of the Cordova and TJM Properties, the slumlord who owns the Stanton, have come out and said, oh, well, we need to get these folks out of here quickly, too, because the building is unsafe. And it's like the slumlord is admitting that his facility he's owned for decades is unsafe. It's like, how did we let that happen? How did the city let that happen then?
Those landlords are not doing anything. They're going to collect. Timber Falls is a great example of that over here in Tampa. They're not renewing those renters' lease. They're still collecting money, and people are honest people. They're still paying rent. And if I go based on the lowest end, 100 people, that property has more than 100 units. So 100 people with paying $800 minimum. That's $80,000 a month that landlord is reaping, and they're not doing any repairs. And what they're going to do is turn around, because they don't have leases and they don't have to give a great notice. They're going to evict those people and tell them they have X amount of days to find somewhere else to live, and that's a travesty.
Yep.
Absolutely.
William, you had a story on your video on your website, which make sure you give it out, by the way, of a lady that in St. Pete, and correct me if I get this wrong, but she used to live, I think, in the area where they took away the government took the houses and built the stadium or the interstate or something like that. And then she's moved into another house that she lived in for a long time. But she got notice that the house was up for sale, and the houses all around her were being sold, redone, and flipped for a bunch of money. And now she doesn't have anywhere to live. Is that pretty? Did I get that right? And is that pretty
Yeah,
common?
no, you summarized it correctly. Yeah, that was Michelle Davis. Yeah, you can go on our website, St. Petersburg Tenants Union.org. On the front page, it's got a link to our blog, which has all those articles and op-eds we write. It's got all of our contact info. But yeah, Michelle. Michelle is right. Born and raised here in St. Pete. I mean, she grew up right in the gas plant district.
Yep.
She's somebody who's her whole life has faced erasure. Erasure of her childhood neighborhood, the places she grew up and went to and lived are all gone. And she's been renting for about 6 years until an investment company came and bought her house. And the neighborhood she's living in, it's just south of the Grand Central District, which is in South St. Petersburg. And it's for a long time was one of the kind of poorer areas, in South St. Pete. And these companies are going in, buying up homes. Demeter Properties is who bought her home, and they said, they gave her, because she was on a month-to-month lease, they said, all right, we're giving you, till the end of the month to move out. And she said, I can't, I don't have anywhere to go. She tried to get in contact with them. We wrote a very nice letter to the landlord, to Demeter saying, hey, please give her some more time. She's a senior. The COVID was spiking at the time. That was in July, August. Look, she's got, health concerns. You can't be kicking her out in the middle of this pandemic that's spiking. And they just completely ignored her, ignored us, and filed an eviction against her. So we were able to get her help through Gulf Coast Legal. They've tied up her cases, tied up in court. She's good for right now. They've got a whole thing going on with her, but it's horrible. And you look right down the street, there was one of these Demeter homes that they bought and refurbished and flipped, selling for $475,000, $500,000 in this neighborhood. And it's crazy. And it's just, it's happening so quickly.
Quick.
You think South St. Pete's getting gentrified?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's been for years.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really, really skyrocketing right now. And there's no end in sight. All at South St. Pete and other working class neighborhoods, even on the north side, up in my neighborhood, the Ponce de Leon neighborhood, up north of like 30th Avenue there. I mean, you're going to start seeing the encroachment into these areas as well. And it's bad. It's where are working people going to go? People like Michelle, who spent a lifetime contributing to this community, and then she's just expendable now because she's, a senior, she's on a fixed income. That's horrible. That's so wrong. To have somebody living in the golden years of their life and living in fear and having sleepless nights, because she doesn't know where she's going to live and she has nowhere to go. That's unconscionable to me. So.
You know what? What's interesting to me is that, so I was a certified residential appraiser, and we gave value to these properties, right? When somebody was selling or when they're buying, we provide value. Whenever a duplex, quadruplex, whatever, whenever a business was buying a property and they wanted to know what the rental amount would be for that property, we had to match like, kind, and quality to that property to tell them, oh, the average rent in this place is. I could not match a building that was built in 2021 to something that was built in 1979 because I couldn't even mark it down that low, deduct because of the age. There's something that has to be done, even in regulating it that way. We'll put appraisers in business. But even for them to regulate it, that they're forcing these apartment complexes that they have to match it apple to apple not dumbing it down or deducting, because a brand new apartment is now being sold at $1,800 and they want to charge $1,600 and come up from $1,100 and have a $400 cushion. That makes no sense.
Well, exactly, and that's when they act like with the landlords are funny. They act like the market rate. Like here in Tampa Bay, we've seen rents increase by 22% since the beginning of the year, largest in any metro area in the country. But they like to say like this is out of our control. It's just the market rate. We're just
Correct.
It's totally within your control. Your taxes, your expenses have not gone up that much. It's just greed at that point.
And it's not justified. It's not justified.
Right. Exactly.
It's not justified.
Exactly.
Pastor Brenda, you've been quiet there in your car. What do you think about all this?
Oh,
we can't hear you. She must be.
She's not on mute.
Well, we'll see if we can get Pastor Brenda here. But to me, I think we're going to see more and more of this. I mean, people talk about millennials don't want to own property. They want to rent, that kind of thing. But it shows the importance of owning your home, really, to really controlling, what happens to you. I know in the past, people used to pass homes down through the generations, and it does provide some security that you're going to have a place to live. And in situations like the Gaslight District, where they just came in and took the properties, and then maybe those people weren't able to find something else. It's just unfortunate. I'm not sure what the answer is. Brenda, are you on now? Yep. No, we still can't hear you. So, are there any homeowner programs that people could take advantage of to buy a home and be able to potentially pass it down through the generations?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know if you know, Rob, and
that was so. Once upon a time, when they would promote home ownership, the theory was that you would pay less in mortgage than you would rent. But guess what? With these corporations coming in and coming to the table with $50,000 more when they're purchasing these homes, the value of the homes are not affordable either, mm-hmm. Even with the different programs that they offer, first-time home buyers and so forth. The average house in East Tampa now is $240,000.
And then you got to get a loan. You got to get a bank to loan. Do a mortgage on it, and that's I don't know always easy to do.
Well, I think that's where the tenants union kind of where we kind of come in. I mean, I think I in an ideal sense, I mean, I believe everybody should have ownership of the place that they live in, and I think most people do want that. And so we come in, especially like in these multifamily buildings, and the idea is that like, hey, look, we should have a stake in ownership. And there's more of us than the landlord. And what the landlord does is they operate essentially as a dictator, just because of the sake that they have the private property, so they can take the profits and they can use that to enrich themselves, cut corners on maintenance and things like that, and our living conditions. And then we can live there for 20 years, and the owner decides they want to sell or do this or that and jack up the rent and kick us out. And that's not right, And so that's the whole thing is wresting back democratic control over our living spaces, especially in multifamily buildings, especially ones with big corporate landlords. Really, that's a horrible phenomenon. And, those buildings should be, essentially like public goods, and the people who live in them should have at least some level of ownership. And so that's what we do by collectively, hey, there's more of us than you. We're the ones who pay your rent, and so you're going to have to come and negotiate with us. And that's kind of the level we want to try and get at here. So
is there a tenant union in Tampa?
Yeah, there is. There's the Tampa Tenants, and they're pretty newly formed over the summer here. So they're
Yeah,
doing
where
some
are
good
they?
work.
Yeah,
They're they're just over in Tampa. It's actually part of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, Tampa Bay. And they are they're working right now at an apartment complex that a couple of them actually live at, the Ascot Place Apartments, and they have a whole number of issues there. There's actually an expose in the Tampa Bay Times about it, and about their organizing efforts. So they have made some demands. Not everything's been met, but certain things they were able to get some more laundry equipment in the laundry facilities and things like that, which is great. And it just kind of goes to show, hey, if we get together, if everybody gets together and say, look, we're fed up with the way you're managing things, and we may have to escalate some actions if you don't do something. They start to do that. That it actually does happen. So it's just the more we can build and let people know, when we get together, we're strong, we're powerful, we're an unstoppable force when we stand together. So.
Well, that's what Florida Rising has been doing for probably the last 2 years, is going into communities, knocking on doors in apartment complexes. And we don't act as a tenant union. We empower the tenants to fight on issues, but we're that support system for them. So bringing in an attorney to provide them with their legal rights. If things are not being done, they're completing a 7-day notice. Again, I fall back on Timber Falls because that's where we're working now. Just imagine if all 100 of those people that's paying $800 a month hold their rent, and Timber Falls does not get $80,000 in a month. So it's great when the tenants are sick and tired. We're working in River Pines right now, and those elderly people, senior people, they're ready to fight against housing authority because they're not telling the truth and they're mistreating those tenants. So so I welcome. I would love to find out who is working also over here, because there's a lot of work for everybody. But if it's one big unit, we can get a lot done.
Absolutely.
Power to the people. How do people get a hold of you, William, if they want to join or get your help or whatever?
Yeah, sure thing. So again, our website is Petersburg-tenantsunion.org. That's ST, Petersburg-tenantsunion.org. If you go to our website, there's a contact box that's got our email address, sptenantsunion@gmail.com. You can shoot us an email. We're also on social media. You can find us on Twitter at sptenantsu, and then on Facebook and Instagram at sptenantsunion. You can also DM us on those pages. We do check our DMs, not as frequently as I need to, but we do, and we can get a hold of you there. So.
Well, I would encourage everybody check out their website. They did some great an expose on the owner of this property that was evicting people. They've done just gone through some eviction cases and showed some of the handwritten things that people wrote about how what being evicted was going to do to them and their families. Just good stuff on that website, so check it out. And William, thank you for everything you're doing for the people over in St. Pete, and hopefully we can get something similar going in Tampa. Last question, which is better, Tampa or St. Pete?
Which is better? Well, of course, St. Pete. I mean, I'm born and raised. 727 is always it's the best. But we're a little more laid back over here. It's nice. It's getting big, but it's still got that small town feel over here in Pinellas, even being the most densely populated county in the state. So
I would have to disagree with you, but I will say that people from St. Pete won't come across the bridge to Tampa, but people from Tampa go over the bridge all the time. So I'm not sure why that is. And
what we're attempting to do, I spoke with Aaron, I think, while we were out canvassing. How do we tear down that bridge and make it imaginary? Because St. Pete has housing issues, Tampa has housing issues, and they classify this as the Tampa Bay region or the Tampa Bay area. So I'll be getting in contact with you so we can work together and do things in uniform, to beat this housing crisis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's get together. That's yeah, exactly. We've got to have coordination from groups across the
Yep.
Bay. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for coming on the show, but unfortunately our time is up. We want to thank William Kilgore from the St. Petersburg Tenant Union for all the good work he's doing. Thanks, Robin. Pastor Brenda, sorry we can't hear you. Somebody has muted your phone. So we will see you next week on the Call for Help
Your
show.
phone is
Thanks,
not-
everybody.
Thank you all.